What's up, founders? Today I want to talk about notebooks. What is the deal with notebooks? Why has everyone got them? Why are we all writing things down in them? And what are they actually used for? So when I first got into the startup game, I noticed that all of the founders that I looked up to and all the ones who really seemed to have it all together, they all had notebooks and they would just be scribbling things in them all the time and collecting all of their thoughts and stuff. And I mean, it looked really impressive and a little bit intimidating as well, to be honest, because I didn't really understand it at the time and I didn't find notebooks useful. I've never really been much of a note taker, to be honest. When I was at school, I just never wrote stuff. I was always much more comfortable just holding thoughts in my head because I always felt like it was faster just to keep everything up here. And that worked for me for a long time, but I always thought there was some magic to it because I actually remember reading Richard Branson's autobiography. There was like a specific point where he talked about how he has like 50 years worth of his notebooks and they're all in like a bookcase together. And he started taking pictures of them and there were all these really cool notes and stuff. And so I kind of wanted to give it a try. So I actually tried it first time in 2013. I actually bought myself a notebook and I just said, I'm gonna write everything down. So every time I met somebody, this is so embarrassing. Like every time I met somebody, it was almost like I was profiling them in the notebook. I'd write everything, like what they were wearing, like the color of their shoes, specific little things that they said. I don't know, it must have looked super scary. If someone like ever read my notebook, I'd probably end up on some sort of list or something like that. But I didn't really know what people were writing, so I just thought I'll just write everything. And I mean, you probably don't need to guess, but this was a complete waste of time. It didn't really do anything for me. It just really gave me the impression that they really were useless, and maybe it was me and maybe it's just not the way my mind works. So I kind of gave up on it, forgot about that whole thing and just went back to the way I was doing things before, where I just kept everything in my head. And that actually worked for a long time. It was all good. But then something changed, and after that I found notebooks really useful, and that's why I've got one today. I write a lot of stuff in it. I mean, if I have a day where I forget it, I feel pretty lost without it, to be honest. And I'll tell you the reason why it changed for me. So as I grew older, I started having more things happen in my life. So I had kids, I got my own place. I've got like a bigger business now. Like there's a lot of responsibility there, and I'm managing people, and that's a lot of stuff to juggle, right? And as I kept adding things into my life one by one, it reduced the amount of capacity I had to think in my own head, because I was constantly balancing all of these things. And I actually got to a point where I was like starting to make mistakes, and I was doing like a really bad job on all of these things because I just I didn't have the mental capacity to just like think through stuff and take care of things. It was just overloading me. And my co-founder JM actually spotted this before I did. And he was like, mate, you've got to organize your thoughts. You've got to get these notes down. You've got to keep a diary. By the way, he's a very, very good note taker. So, he was like super organized. Again, I was just meeting it with resistance. I was like, nah, that's not me. I'm creative. That's just not how my mind works. But then, things came to a head and it just got worse and worse. I was getting so stressed that I was at the point where I was like, I'm just going to try anything to get over this. So I started writing notes again, and I started just writing to-do lists, so I wouldn't forget things. And it just snowballed from there. So I started writing down meeting notes and technical plans, and now before I do some programming, I actually write it on paper and I plan stuff out. And I can't describe the clarity that it's given me in my own head. Just the ability to think things through and have all of that spare capacity. That now is why I understand what the notebook is for. It's just like an extra hard drive for your head. You've got all these thoughts up here. There's some stuff you've got to deal with today. There's some stuff you don't need to deal with today. That stuff goes in here. And that's it. So the only reason you see people using notebooks is just because they've got a lot of stuff going on in their heads and they're just trying to keep it all together. I don't think there's any secret to it. I think if you're like a new founder, don't feel like you have to have one just to be fashionable or because it's going to make you look like a pro or something like that. I actually think for most people, you will get further without a notebook, unless you're having those issues where there's too much stuff going on, which is why I actually think you see more experienced people and maybe a little bit older people using them, because those are the people who've got a lot of responsibilities and commitments. So I hope that explains everything. That's my philosophy on notebooks anyway, and it works for me, so maybe it will work for you guys too. I'd be interested in hearing what you all think. How do you organize your thoughts? Do you use mind maps? Do you just write stuff down? What's your process? Let's have a chat in the comments, and I'll see you all next time. Have a nice day. Bye.